welcome back to another episode of your favorite and mine, Relentless TV. I'm your host, Kelly Murray, and I am so excited to share with you guys. Today, we're going to be focusing on some best practices for how to submit your content in a way that is going to be the most effective and give you the most results with your online advertising. So let's get started. First of all, I want to run through a couple of bullet points that I specifically got from our team of ad managers, our ad ninjas. They've put together this list just for you so that we can make sure we are collecting the best graphics and video content to make the most of your ads. So let's get started. Number one, this sounds like an obvious one, but we're still receiving some blurry photos. So please make sure the graphics that you submit are not blurry. Okay, so we'll give you some examples of these as we go, but this is an example of a blurry photo, not great. And then this is an example of a not blurry photo. That's what we like, all right? Number two, this is a good one. Make sure when you're taking the photo, you have a subject matter in mind. Okay, so whether it's one person or two people or a group photo, or maybe you're trying to hone in on an interaction that's taking place on the mat, just make sure you have the subject matter in focus so that we understand the objective of the photo. So oftentimes we're getting content that is, we're not really sure what's going on, and maybe you're doing some casual, more organic style photographs, but those don't always work well in your ad campaigns. So just make sure you're really narrowing in on what it is that you want the photo to highlight. All right, next up, no sparring photos, okay? And the reason why is because this doesn't translate well to our audience. They don't necessarily understand about sparring or fighting, and so this can turn off our audience from wanting to learn more. It can be intimidating for them. And while I'm on that subject, don't post other intimidating photos either. So try to stay away from mean, scary faces, or even when you're doing your videos, make sure that the content is relatively positive and upbeat and doesn't portray a scary environment that people are not going to feel welcome into, or people are going to be afraid to step foot in the door because they think it's all about fighting. Okay, so remember, this is about public perception, not what you know. You're the expert. You've been doing this a long time. But we want to put ourselves in our prospective clients' shoes and think about what they're seeing from their point of view. So no sparring or intimidating pictures or videos. For videos, we'll switch focus here and talk about videos for a moment. For videos, make sure you're in a quiet area. Okay, we don't want to have a lot of background noise. So whether you're doing a talking head video or another type of video that is focusing in on what someone is saying, a testimonial perhaps, just make sure that you're in an area where there won't be a lot of background noise to detract from what that person is actually saying. All right, I've got a tip here from one of the ad ninjas, and that is that group circle photos perform really well. So we're back to photos now for a moment, and we're talking particularly about a mat chat idea where all the kids are sitting in a circle and an instructor is leading them, or maybe you're doing a drill in a circle, an instructor is leading them. Those perform really well. So you can keep that in mind for your next photo shoot. Next up, I've got another tip here, which is delegate your picture taking to the team. And I love this idea because we all know you guys are very busy, you have a lot on your plate, and to be honest, some of your younger team members might be better at this kind of thing anyways. So it's a great way to utilize them. And I have a couple of ideas for you that I'm going to share in just a minute that will help you figure out the best way to delegate these tasks to your team successfully. Okay, next tip I'm reading here is that you want to make sure, that your background, whether it's for photos or videos, is organized, it's clean, it's tidy, that it's aesthetically pleasing, right? We don't want to see a photograph of a really happy, smiling kid, but then there's a bunch of junk in the background, or things are dirty or disorganized or not clean, because that's obviously going to take away, again, from the idea of the picture, which is the smiling, happy child. Okay. Next up, make sure that your photos do actually capture the audience and the brand that you're going for. So again, no scary, intimidating, sparring photos, but if you do want to highlight your adult program, show your adults working hard, sweating, but not dying, okay? Or, a great photo or video of people taking a break and drinking water. No, right? We want to see them actually working hard, actually focused in class. And the same with the kids' photos and videos as well. We don't want to necessarily see them taking a break, or we don't want to see them falling down and getting hurt, or we don't want to see when they're not paying attention and their focus is all over the place. So try to highlight exactly what the client is looking for in those photos and videos. All right, next up, if you're recording on your phone, which most of us are, right? None of us have to have a professional camera or professional camera person, even for that matter. So when you're using your smartphone, just keep in mind that you want to make sure you're able to see the subject from the waist up. Make sure it's not cut off in any way, shape, or form. And also make sure it's not too close to their face, okay? So even though you guys have beautiful, gorgeous faces, gorgeous, so gorgeous. We don't want to see a face too close up because, again, it doesn't read well online. So waist up is a good way to keep a requirement for either talking head videos or testimonials. And then on that same note, make sure you're staying close enough that we can hear you. Because obviously, if you're not using a microphone and you're relying on the device's microphone, you want to make sure it's picking up sound correctly. So test it out, make sure you can hear what the person is saying before you submit your content. And also, you don't have to be the one doing the talking head videos either. In fact, we've said this before, but if you are not the best representation of what it is you're trying to communicate to your audience, then let someone else do it. So for instance, if you are maybe a male, an older male who has been doing martial arts for 50 years, but your audience is moms who are younger, who are looking for something to do with their kids, maybe instead of you doing this ad, maybe you have a mom do it instead, or someone who is more in that demographic. But again, sometimes we don't know until we test things out. So certainly give it a shot, but we'll give you feedback after you submit as to whether or not it's performing. And then you can keep these tips in mind for when you're creating your content in the future. All right, speaking of content, I want to talk a little bit about your social media pages, okay? So I'm going to talk about a couple of different platforms, the first being your Facebook page. So those of you who don't know, your fan page or your Facebook business page is actually a really integral part of how well your ads are performing. So if you do any kind of online advertising, those people who are clicking on the ads or wanting to learn more or even opting in are probably next step going to visit your business page. Okay, so if your business page is not set up or it's not very active, you don't have great quality content, or there's just not a lot going on, then those ads are not going to perform as well because people are not going to be excited or enticed or motivated to move forward. So you want to make sure that your business page, your fan page, whatever you want to call it, is set up like a little mini business website that people can go to on Facebook to learn more about not just your brand and your community and your culture, but to feel a part of it as they visit your page. So I'm going to give you some tips and strategies for that. And the nice thing is that when you're creating content for us, you can repurpose it for your social media pages. Okay. One recommendation is to create a social media calendar for yourself. So if you're not already, theme out your days, right? Maybe you decide Monday is for motivation, or maybe Monday is for new member shoutouts. Maybe Tuesday is for technique tips or tutorials. You see, I like the theme of alliteration. What's Up Wednesdays, where you go through announcements of what's going on in your community. So you create a content calendar so that you know what the theme of every day will be, and then you can start to put together content in batches, right? You can create your content. Let's say you decide on one day in time during the week where you're going to sit down and film, record all of your content for the entire month for both your online advertising for us, but also for your fan page and your social media pages for you, okay? I also want to mention, right, we have Relentless Content Club available for all of you to use. So if you're like, Kelly, everything you're saying sounds fantastic, but I just don't have time, I don't have the creativity, I don't have the desire to do my own content, no problem. Relentless can handle it for you. However, you still have a responsibility and an obligation to attend to on your fan page. So even though we're providing you with the content, or you're providing it on your own, you're not done. So I would really encourage all of you to spend at least 2 or 3 hours a week, that's right, 2 or 3 hours a week, going into all of your social media platforms and trying to engage with the community there. So now you have this fantastic content, but if it's just sitting there, especially on Facebook, it's not going to be seen. So we want to create engagement. So when you're doing content, one thing to remember is that the more likes, reactions, shares, and comments you get, the more Facebook wants to show that post to other people. So you can have your team participate by adding their own comments into your posts, okay? And then the other thing that you can do is when someone does comment, make sure you respond, make sure you reply, so that there becomes more engagement. Again, Facebook doesn't care if it's good, bad, or ugly. It just wants to see people engaging. And so when you start adding more responses, it helps get more eyes on the page. Also, I would encourage you to respond with the intention of continuing the conversation. So don't just respond, thanks so much. Respond with something like, wasn't that fantastic? ? What's your favorite move to do in class? Or do you think you could do a split? Show me in the comments below. Something that gives them either a call to action or a thoughtful, engaging question that they respond to. Remember, the idea for your content is to develop community online. So you want to create opportunities and moments for people to engage with you. Okay, the next thing, let me see my notes here. You can also utilize your social media, specifically your Instagram and your business page on Facebook, to reach out to leads, right? So maybe people who are visiting the page are liking your posts, maybe they're commenting, maybe they're not currently members. Those are leads. Hi, those are leads. So you can actively reach out to those people through the DM function, and you can say something like, hey, welcome to Move. We're so happy you're here. Are you enjoying our content? Are you ever interested in taking a class? Something along those lines, and starting a conversation. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Kelly, I don't want to bug people. That's so annoying. That's so shady. That's so salesy, blah, blah, blah. These are all projections that you have about this process that I want you to throw out the window, okay? So we belong to some of the highest levels of masterminds in the marketing industry, and I can almost guarantee you that the most successful influencers online are using the DM feature to reach out to people to A, get more engagement, to B, give them better advice or solutions or tips or links or videos or recipes, or C, collect their information to try and get them to buy more from them. Okay, so this is already happening. If you're not doing it, I really encourage you to give it a try. And again, before you judge it, just remember the goal is not to sell them something right away. It's to create a connection, to create a relationship, to start a conversation. Even if it's just, we are so appreciative that you stopped by our page. I hope you enjoy our content. Okay? All right, I want to talk a little bit about Instagram because I have brought it up. And Instagram and Facebook are obviously different, so their purpose is different. And as you guys probably already know, Instagram is more focused on graphics and also videos. We'll also talk a little bit about stories and reels. When you're setting up your business page on Instagram, you have a little more control over the design elements of it. Unlike on Facebook, you can actually create a brand guide with colors and your logo and kind of make sure everything design-wise is aligned with your brand. The other thing is that you can utilize the sync feature where you're syncing up your Instagram to your Facebook page so that you don't have to do double duty. That way, everything you post on Instagram shows up on your fan page and vice versa. Okay, let's talk about stories. Stories are a really great way to show your audience some behind-the-scenes reality TV type footage of what goes on when no one else is there, right? Or even what goes on when everybody is there. We know in 2024, reality TV is a pretty big thing. I don't know why, but people are fascinated with watching other people's lives, right? I look on Instagram, and some of the reels that I see are get ready with me. And we're watching people brush their teeth and brush their hair. And you're seeing it, right? It's kind of strange. Why are we fascinated by this? I don't know. I don't make the rules. I'm just here to share with you that this is what people like. So we want to do what people like. We want to do what people are engaged with. So if you have a behind-the-scenes story, maybe before classes start, maybe you share some footage during classes, maybe you do some personal talking to the actual audience in your stories, those are all really great ways to help engage and keep your audience interested in what's going on. Okay, finally, let's talk about Reels. Instagram just keeps stealing every other platform's thing, right? So first it was Snapchat had the stories, and now Instagram has the stories, right? And first it was TikTok has the Reels, but now Instagram also has the Reels. So Instagram wants your Reels. These are probably a more advanced social media concept. If you don't have anything going on that I've talked about so far, please don't start with Reels. They're just more time consuming and more effort to put together. However, if you've got everything else on your checklist checking off as I go, maybe you can start creating some reels to help increase your followers or to help create more engagement. A great way to do this is to utilize some of that class footage or save your stories throughout the week and then just put them together. And Instagram makes it super easy to create a reel. But again, it is more time consuming. You've got to edit it. You've got to think about how it's going to flow and what music you're going to use. Again, though, really great way to facilitate more engagement online. Okay, so we've talked about Instagram, we've talked about Facebook, and of course, you can utilize other social media platforms like TikTok or Snapchat or X, I think it's called now, and not Twitter. Of course, those are all very viable and great social media platforms to use. And I don't think you're going to utilize them any different than Instagram and Facebook. But I would say for now, Instagram is king and Facebook is queen when it comes to our demographics. So definitely make sure your social media content is on point. And utilizing your team. Let's finish with that. Here's what I recommend. At the beginning of every week, create a team training, or I call them team trainings, team meeting segment where they get 20 minutes to create new content. Okay, so let's say every Monday you have a team meeting and you give them 20 minutes, maybe you break them up into groups or into partners, and you give them an assignment of creating one piece of content. Give them a time frame. You have 20 minutes to complete the whole thing from start to finish. So that means from inception to completion, right? You have to actually execute and film it or take the photos or whatever it's going to be in that time. You can even see that as they practice this more, you can probably delegate to them more often. You can also give them more pieces of content to create so that you're getting help. And then as they create content, just store it in some sort of drive or a library on your desktop so that you can pull from that content all the time. And then again, to add to your organization, creating folders for different themes so that if you are doing any kind of content calendar and you need a themed piece of content, you know where to find it, okay? I hope this video was helpful for you, this TV show, this reel, what are we doing? I hope that this was helpful for you. I gotta go because I gotta go create more content. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we'll talk with you soon.